Genesis 1:28. And you're going to see where I'm going with this because I'm making a tangible connection with what is called, we call this a kingdom principle.
Bible?
Yes.
Yeah. Genesis 1:28.
Then God blessed them. This is the very first chapter of the first book in the text that we call the Bible. So you're wondering, why is he reading the Bible to me? I'm going to explain to you right here how you are getting a universal business principle. A person doesn't even have to subscribe to religion to get success on this. And I want you to understand this. Every great business is using this model that I'm about to show you right now. Then God blessed them and said what? Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and govern it. Reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the skies, and all the animals that scurry along the ground. Let me read it in a different way. 28 over here. Write this down. God said to them, I'm going to tell you the 3 words to write down. Blessed and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and what? What's that word? And subdue it. I'm going to show you how great businesses are built. The first step.
That's a powerful scripture. I never even noticed the Bible talking about business.
They're talking about business. The first step is to be what?
Fruitful.
Fruitful. What does that mean? See, people that use being fruitful and multiplying interchangeably, they're not.
Fruitful is be rich. Recognize value. Capitalize on value.
Be fruitful is to be productive. Productive.
There you go.
Produce.
To produce.
What you do.
Let's go to Ray Kroc. Let's go to the McDonald's brothers. The fruit of McDonald's is what?
The burgers.
The burgers, the fries, the shakes. Make sure you get this down. The Big Mac. The Big Mac is McDonald's fruit. This is what I want you to understand. The fruit generally is connected to something that only they do. Only McDonald's has the Big Mac. Only McDonald's has the fries the way they have the fries. The fries are off the chain. That's their fruit. That's their fruit. Their fruit is, so another word for under fruitful, I want you to say to produce. Produce. Being fruitful. I'm giving you a business principle here. Being fruitful. So the McDonald's brothers, were they fruitful?
Absolutely.
Yes. They created this great system to make these burgers, make these milkshakes, make these fries. They were fruitful. However, they stayed stuck on the first level. Great entrepreneurs understand how to move. They get right here, the progression is being given to you. Then God blessed them and said, be fruitful and what? Let's go to step 2. Multiply.
You said great entrepreneurs know how to multiply.
They know how to multiply. And I'm not talking math here. You may not be talking actual. Multiplication is what? What did you say? Please write that down. Reproduction. Be fruitful, now multiply. All companies on some level, all entrepreneurs on some level know this. Maybe for you as a book, maybe for you as your wallet. You said you're creating this line of wallets and accessories with leather. That's here. Most people stay stuck here. The key to great wealth is being able to not just be fruitful, but to multiply.
Expand.
The McDonald's brothers were fruitful, but Ray Kroc
Multiply.
He said, look at this great thing you have. Why is it just in San Bernardino? Well, we got 5 other restaurants. Yeah, you should have 500 other restaurants. That's why they called him the founder. Because he founded the idea, not the company. The company was founded by who? McDonald's brothers. But he founded the concept of being able to replicate, to multiply their fruit.
That's a good word, replicate.
I need you to understand that. Ray Kroc's genius was not in creating the fruit. It was in multiplying what was there. He said, I want to take this, and I want to put it in China, and I want to put it in Indonesia, and I want to put it in the Philippines, and I want to put it in Russia, and I want to put it all over. Just so you know, we've never gone to war with a country that had McDonald's in it. I don't know if you know that.
What was that?
We've never gone to war with a country that has McDonald's.
Wow.
It's just food for thought.
It's American.
Yes, American, yeah.
Well,
They make a lot of money.
I don't know if it's necessarily a connection.
Remember what the movie said, that the arches represent American values and politics. The flag were under the arches.
There you go.
The churches were under the arches.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now they did a
Prior to 1984, was they overseas? Prior to 1984?
They were in some places overseas. Actually.
Where?
I don't
I
know.
don't remember.
Right,
I don't
right.
remember them being anywhere across the globe before 1984, before Ray Crockett died.
Well, they had it in.
Oh, no.
They had it in Guatemala. I was there in the 70s, and they had it.
That was his genius. He put it in other places. It's not as big as it is
It
now.
wasn't him that
McDonald's?
put it in those places. The other guy that
No, he expanded it further. But they went some other countries.
How long was they done?
They helped McDonald's in France.
he died 34 years ago.
They
Okay.
helped McDonald's in France way back.
Yeah. It's definitely in other places. It's just they expanded even more. So he understood how to multiply. He also understood part of multiplying was branding. Check this out. He branded.
Well,
Now,
that's what I was going to say. That was something big also.
yeah, but that's part of multiplication. He knew how to take. They say the three most recognizable brands in the world, or symbols in the world, are what?
McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and
I almost hate to say this because it sounds sacrilegious to throw this in there, and the cross.
Yeah.
And some have disputed whether McDonald's is more recognizable than the cross. That's a whole other issue.
that's what Ray Crockett said.
Crossing it around.
Well, it may have been around, but the point is they know how to market it. So I'm just saying how they knew how to. So he's fruitful. He multiplied. What's step 3?
Subdue.
Subdue. What does it mean to subdue?
Execute.
You execute.
To bring under control.
Bring what under control? Make sure you write this down. The fruit is the products. Produce. Multiply is to replicate. Subdue is to corner the market. That means to dominate the market.
Oversaturated.
Now we're going from not necessarily oversaturate, maybe just enough saturation. We've gone from being fruitful to multiplying to now he wanted to dominate. He said, why can't we be the number one, not just number one fast food, not just number one restaurant, why can't we be the number one company?
That's executing to the fullest extent.
Well, but it's all of these are execution on some level, but I want you to understand the progression of what's happening. The brothers, like you said, you're effing local. I'm global.
Yeah.
You told him, to give you an example, what's the point of purchasing a house and you don't own the land? Or you own the top of the land and the house, but you don't own what's inside the ground?
Maybe. That's slightly different because there's no multiplication there, but you're right. That is something about subduing.
That's
But
something to think about.
yeah, that this process of fruitful, multiply, and then dominate the market. Great companies understand how to not just have fruit, not just multiply it, but how to dominate the market. Because once they dominate the market,
But to what extent do we dominate the market? Do we dominate the market to the point where now we're being more hurtful than good?
well, see, that's a good question. So Amschel Rothschild.
Yes.
Amschel Rothschild
Big bag.
came up with what concept?
Banking industry.
The sort of the modern banking industry. He lived in what country? Germany. He lived between Germany and Prussia. In the 1730s was his heyday.
Right.
This was what his concept was. This is what he said. He said, listen, it's not what you're selling that makes the difference. He said it's having all of it that makes the difference. He said if I had sand, but I owned all of it, I control what?
The market.
The price.
Say it again. It's not
The
what
market.
you're selling.
It's the monopoly on it. It's controlling as much of it as possible. So he understood this concept. So I'm shifting from Ray Kroc to Amschel Rothschild. This concept of dominating a market. Now we have something called antitrust laws, which is to prevent people from having a monopoly, because when a person has a monopoly,
Too much control.
they control the.
Right.
Who was the main person who did that here in, they're called antitrust laws?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, before him though, the antitrust laws were built from which company or what person were they upset with?
J. Morgan?
No,
He was in his day.
Chase? Mr. J. Morgan?
The Rockefellers and the DuPont.
The
Rockefellers and
John
Carnegie.
Davison
And Carnegie.
Rockefeller, but it's particularly John Davison Rockefeller
And the Carnegie.
owned Standard Oil. Standard Oil Company owned 96% of the world's oil. You need to understand what the power of monopoly is. 96% of the world's oil, which means what? He controlled the price.
What's monopoly?
A monopoly is what?
Having control over
It's when you
everything.
control a large part of the market. I think now it's defined legally as controlling something like 80% of the market.
It's like
Don't quote me on
somebody,
that.
somebody controls.
It's different than stocks because it's one thing to own the majority of a company. It's another thing to own the majority of a product nationally or globally. That's what a monopoly is. A monopoly is, and they tried this with Bill Gates. They tried to bring what they call antitrust suits against him. The government can only bring antitrust suits.
They did.
Because they said too many, basically, when you own
got
too
too much
much,
They
not
did.
so much you have too much
Got
money,
too much power.
but
just
you
like-
that too.
Yeah,
Those antitrust laws, you know, who are they really extended to? Because if you have 5 or 6 corporations, big corporations in the United States that have control over 95% of the food that's being produced in this country,
Yes.
that in and of itself is a monopoly. Having 6 or 7 corporations controlling 95% of the food
I'm
in the
glad you
United
brought that
States.
up. Why is that slightly different? How do they get around antitrust laws?
But
They make sub
On the table.
No,
Yes.
define what you said again. You said how many companies?
6 or 7 companies.
That's
that
the
have-
difference. That's the difference. See, there ain't and this is. So I want you to understand what
Monopoly
happened.
is one single one.
That's how they
It's
get around
one
the law.
single company. I want you to understand that.
Yes, that's one single, you know, that applies to one single company. But when you have 6, 7 companies,
Yeah, it's the same
that
concept.
have that control over the food, that in
But
it.
each
But I want you to
company-
understand
is a
legally
monopoly.
how they get around it.
Each company
Yes.
have
Legally,
exactly.
they get
There's a
around
loophole.
it because now what they say is it's a network of us to have. So let me
Right.
show you how these networks came about. John Davison Rockefeller, 1908, the president was who? President Theodore Roosevelt had a problem with these banking families and these banking families and these companies and families that had all of this money. At one point, Rockefeller was so wealthy he had 1% of the economy in the United States. 1% of the entire economy was his personal wealth. And so they said, we got to break this up. So they brought, that's a whole other story. One day I might share some of that with you. So this is what they did. The government, under the direction of the Attorney General of the time, at the behest of the President, brought this suit against John Rockefeller. The goal was what? The goal was to destroy his company. Now, I want you to understand what happened here, because I'm going to get to where 6 or 7 companies, we go from one company owning 96% to 6 or 7 companies owning 96%. The day that the suit happened, the suit went all the way to the high courts. Who won the suit? How many people say Rockefeller won? How many people say the U.S. government? The U.S. government won. This is a true story. Rockefeller was golfing that day. True story. He's golfing. And a priest was golfing with him, and they're kind of talking or whatever. He didn't know the decision was going to come down that day. Somebody comes, whispers in Rockefeller's ear, he just lost his suit, they're breaking up the company, whatever, he whispered in his ear. Rockefeller looked at the priest and said, have you any money? The priest looks at him. True story. Said, what do you do? He said, have you any money? And the priest is looking at this man like, this man is wealthy, asking me for money. He said, well, I have a dime. This is what he told him. He said, invest in Standard Oil. This is the irony of it. When they split up his company, He went from being the wealthiest person in the country to being the wealthiest person in the history of the world. How? Because it started with he had one company that owned 96% of the world's oil. They split up the company thinking they were going to destroy his wealth. They split up the company into different companies like what? Shell, Exxon, Amco. But he owned controlling shares, which means he owned the majority of all those companies. So you had people that were going saying, we don't like Rockefeller, so we're going to this company instead of them, not realizing he owned all of them. Yeah. So he literally became wealthier as a result of what the government was doing. Yeah. Why is it important to know this? Because that's how it shifted. It used to be wealthy people, I'm talking wealthy on that type of level, had these one companies, a lot of times it had their name on the company, and everybody knew it was attached to them. The lesson of Rockefeller was, and it happened when they broke up this company, hey, it actually looks better to look like we have all these companies in competition, because really they're not in competition, because I own and control the share all.
That's exactly.
So now you have, like you said, 6, 7 companies that drive all the food and produce all the food in the country. That's how
they all share the same interests.
Then the very next year, the banking industry got together and hired out.
Just like you may have A&P, Food Town, CNC.
Yes, they're all being
they all come from the same person.
If you go to Banana Republic,
same material.
The Old Navy.
They're all the same.
Same material, different name. You pay for the name.
So you see what's happening here. So this concept of be fruitful, multiply, subdue. So they understand not just how to create fruit, not just how to multiply, but also how to subdue it in a way where they're cornering the market. It is illegal to corner the market or to dominate the market. That's the goal. Now,
and the last one to do it was Gates, wasn't it?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say he's the last one to do it because Amazon in some ways is doing it now. Amazon is
control the whole market.
Controlling, just sort of like how Walmart was doing. They started with what? Just kind of
and
Walmart. They buy things in bulk.
That's why they don't want them in New York City. That's why they don't want. That's why they don't want.
Hold on, make sure everybody's hearing.
What Gates did was Gates was making computers and selling these computers to different companies, and then when it breaks down, you have to come back to him regardless. That's how he cornered the market, and that's why the United States government got involved. Because everything came from him.
I think he cornered the market because his software wasn't compatible with other systems such as
That's the key. No, I want you to understand that. A lot of people think that it was about the computer with Bill Gates. It wasn't about the computer. It was the software. So he both owned some, line of computers, but he also had a software that no matter who made the computer, pretty much you needed his software.
Right.
And so that's how so that's another thing. We'll get into that in another, that great entrepreneurs know how to, just like the guy went to Ray Kroc and said, you're not in the burger business, you're in the what? You're in the real estate business? Bill Gates really wasn't in the computer business or the hardware business, he was in the software business. So no matter who created that computer, you needed
his software.